Well, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Red Oak Villa. And our CARP meeting for today, which happens to be, do you know what date it is today? Quickly, anybody remember?
14th.
September the what?
14th.
The 14th?
Yes.
The year? 2000, okay, 2023. And my name is... Can you hear me back there? We do have a hearing clinic later on. My name is John Lindsay. I'm currently the president of our local chapter of the Canadian Association of Retired Persons. What is CARP? People ask, what is CARP? CARP is an advocacy group. We're not a social group, you know, we do have a little bit of fun, but basically we are advocacy. We advocate on behalf of seniors, not only here in Sudbury, but across the country. There's 330,000 members of CARP, coast to coast. We have approximately 1,500 here in Northern Ontario who are served by our Sudbury chapter. We hold approximately 4 general meetings each year and 1 annual general meeting. And we try to have a little bit of, I guess, information for people who are concerned about what services are available and what programs are in existence for seniors, not only here, but basically everywhere. So ask us any questions you like later on. We can tell you more. Those of you who belong to CARP, of course, you already know about this. And we have some of our CARP Zoomer magazines over there on the desk for those of you who don't subscribe to Zoomer, but we recommend that perhaps you consider. We want to thank, first of all, Red Oak Villa and Autumnwood for being now responsible in the future for the Sudbury Blueberry Festival. Hey! And we managed to supply Red Oak Villa with all the information and all the materials we had for the Blueberry Festival except for one thing, and we just found it yesterday, stored in a shed, which I hadn't opened for, well, a little while. And it's over here. If you want to take a look, it's our Blueberry Bear cutout. And if you want, you can have your picture taken in the Blueberry Bear cutout. You don't have to be 5 years or younger. You can have to be 50 and older. Does everybody qualify? Okay, great. Okay. So a little business before we get started here. I wrote it down because those of you who know me understand that I do have a way of rambling on and on and on, so therefore I wrote it down, so I'm going to read it off here. But it's a beautiful day today. You know, what happened yesterday? You know, I woke up and I looked out, I have a thermometer outside my bedroom window, and it said 20 degrees. It lied. It lied. So anyway, I put on my shorts and my little light shirt and I went outside. Yeah, well, you know what happens. But today is a great day. We want to mention here that the Red Oak Villa is rather unique in that it's incorporated, and our guest speaker is going to talk something about that later on. It's incorporated the old with the new. How many of you were born in St. Joseph's Hospital? Maybe I should have asked because that was a few years ago, right? But you're proud of it, right? Well, part of that hospital still exists here as the Red Oak Villa. And the new facilities, we've had the opportunity to do a tour, and you'll have an opportunity later on, I believe. Isn't that right?
We will be doing tours.
Great. And you'll see just what a great job they've done here with this facility, incorporating the old with the new. And also, Autumnwood Red Oak Villa has recommended that the library, which is right next door, remain open for the convenience of residents and the general community. And a letter to this effect has been written by the operations manager here, and the letter will be, the letter is going to be published. And we agree, and so do most of our people who belong to CARP and many in the seniors community, as well as many other residents of Sudbury, believe that our library here is probably in a good location. We'll introduce our host shortly, who's going to be speaking to us. And we have Monique here, who I'll be inviting to the microphone in just a very few minutes, talk to us a bit about this fine facility. But just some business before we begin. We're happy to welcome a new treasurer to our chapter, Stan Predorowski, who takes over from Valley Laflamme, who remains as our secretary. Other board members here include Vice President Keith Argent, Marianne Dirkren, Paulette Smith, and Pauline Predorowski. And besides acting as treasurer, Stan has tabulated the results of our last membership survey, which will be released shortly. A few highlights: 100% of those that were surveyed at our last annual general meeting were in favor of our roads and streets being repaired before any new roads are built. I think everyone here would agree with that as well. Most felt, no, 87% felt that our streets and sidewalks are now properly cleared in the winter. Most felt there was no need for the new library, as I mentioned, or art gallery, and the present arena should be renovated rather than being built new. Almost all had a family doctor who they had visited at least once during the past year. And almost 60% had also visited a clinic during the year, and almost 25% had gone to the emergency department. Those are really interesting figures, and I began to think about that. And as far as I'm concerned, I've been to my doctor once last year. I was also to the clinic a couple of times, but I haven't been to the emergency because I don't have enough time to go there.
It's not an emergency.
Maybe I didn't have an emergency, but it's been decided that our local CARP chapter will take part in helping to sell tickets for the Hard of Hearing Dream Home again this year, our main source of funding for this chapter. We're always looking for volunteers to help in this regard. And with that, I'd like to bring up Keith Argent. Where is Keith gone? Keith, come on up here and talk about this. Is something, the Hard of Hearing Home, that's their main revenue generator for the Hard of Hearing Home. And we've helped out over how many years now, Keith? Will you explain? Okay, get over here.
And if anybody wants to ride Red Cross, we got the car out there. As you say, we all do different jobs. For the Hard of Hearing, we're going to be selling tickets in November at the house, again, like we did last year. And we're looking for a few more bodies because it's a good job. It's not too hard, but the more people you have, the easier it is on you. And it was really good last year because we had Ellen Fletcher, who took over the operation, and all we had to do was show up and sell tickets. No taking care of money, no running around with books. It was a good go. But we'll be calling you at home. We've got a phone committee this year. We're going to call you at home and email you. Keep talking. Oh. And so we get your name down for a volunteer for a shift with 2 or 3 other people, and sell tickets and make us some more money so we can have another good AGM next year with all that good food of the Northbury. Stuff like that. So any questions about the ticket sales, let me know, and you can email me or give me a call. My name's on our webpage and our little note we send to you every month or so. So just let us know because they're looking for volunteers. Okay? Thanks.
Thank you. And Keith is a fantastic volunteer, drives the Red Cross, works at the Older Adult Parkside Center. And, his wife never sees him, so she's happy about that. 2 upcoming events. This Saturday, a free seniors event at College Boreal from 9 to 5 p.m. And Valley Laflamme and myself will be there. And also on October the 12th, an Older Adult Center Summit, which is being held at the Caruso Club, which is also free, and that's, I think, from 10 until 3. So before we get on with our guest speaker telling us all the interesting things about Sudbury, which we probably have forgotten or maybe never knew, we have Monique here from the Red Oak Villa, who's going to introduce a few of the fine staff here who look after the folks, and also give us some idea of what this new facility is all about. And I understand there's going to be some goodies. Is that right, later on?
There's lots of goodies.
There's lots of goodies. Wow. You're going to have a second lunch, folks. Monique, go on in.
Thank you. Welcome, everyone. Like John said, my name is Monique. I am the administrator here at Red Oak Villa. I would like to take just a few minutes to introduce my amazing staff, located along the window there behind you. So to the right, we have Renee, who is our community outreach coordinator. She does events out in the community, educating the public about what we can provide here at Red Oak Villa. We have Alex, who also is in sales. And then we have Brenda, who is a sales coordinator. Then we have Tomas, who is taking care of all the activities and ensures that all the residents have a good time. We have Anna, who is our nursing manager. And we have Jen, who is our amazing cook. She's laid out quite the snacks there for you. If you'd like to go, there's tea, coffee, and a whole bunch of things. Feel free to get up and get whatever you want. So thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for coming to Red Oak. It's truly a pleasure to have all of you here today as we host the Canadian Association of Retired Persons for your meeting. We are honored to be here, to be part of this event and to have the opportunity to share our vision for retirement living with you. At Red Oak Villa, our mission is clear. We are here to assist residents in the preservation of health and independence through the promotion of complete wellness, body, mind, and spirit. We strive to provide a place where each resident can truly embrace their retirement years, pursuing their passions, and finding joy in every moment. We believe that life doesn't stop when you retire. It simply becomes a new chapter filled with exciting possibilities. One of our primary goals here is to engage each person in pursuing their personal hobbies and interests. We understand that retirement is a time to rediscover and nurture the things that bring you happiness. Whether it's a lifelong hobby, a newfound interest, or simply spending quality time with friends and neighbors, we provide a vibrant and supportive community that encourages and fosters these connections for you to find your purpose. Embarking on your journey into a community like ours provides an opportunity for you to redefine your personal goals, and we are here to support you every step of the way. Our dedicated team is another cornerstone of our commitment to your well-being. We emphasize preventative wellness through face-to-face check-ins and ongoing health monitoring. We believe that by staying proactive and addressing potential health concerns, we can help you maintain your vitality and independence for as long as possible. Your health and happiness are at the heart of what we do. You see, in a reactive care model, we wait until health issues arise before addressing them. But in our preventative care approach, we focus on identifying and mitigating potential health risks before they become major challenges. This means regular health assessments, ongoing health monitoring, and proactive approach to keeping you in best possible shape. We believe that by investing in our wellness now, we can help you enjoy a healthier and more fulfilling retirement. But it's not all about health. It's also about embracing and enjoying your later years. Many people wait for a need to trigger their move into a retirement community. We want to instill upon you that retirement living is a choice. And by making that choice, you are not submitting to defining your later years as a wind down. This choice can be the catalyst to joining a social scene, fostering newfound connections with like-minded peers, and ultimately embracing aging. As you explore Red Oak Villa today, I encourage you to ask questions, engage with our team, and those who live here and envision the possibilities that retirement living can offer. We believe that your retirement years should be filled with excitement, new experiences, and a sense of fulfillment. We hope that today's visit will help you see how Red Oak Villa can be a place where you can thrive through your later years. Thank you once again for choosing to spend your time with us today. We look forward to getting to know you better and sharing more about the exceptional living experience where we offer here at Red Oak Villa. I apologize. Enjoy your visit, and thank you once again to the CARP Association for selecting us to help teach you about the definitions of retirement living. So once all our presentations are over, I do have my team that is more than pleased to take you around the facility and show you how great it looks. Thank you again.
Well, thank you very much, Monique. We're looking forward for the tour. And I had a brief tour a couple of weeks ago, and this is a brand new facility, even though it does incorporate a former building, probably one of the oldest buildings in Sudbury. Sudbury itself is a relatively new community to the north. I think, Paul, it's recognized that the Sioux and North Bay and Timmins existed before Sudbury. And so we are new, and we have had an interesting history and continue to have an interesting history. So it's great that I can have a chance to introduce Paul Haynes, who's himself has had an interesting history in Sudbury, and we're not letting him go. He's a 2023 recipient of a City of Greater Sudbury Civic Award for volunteerism, nominated by Rainbow Roots for his contributions to its Explore Sudbury and Hike Sudbury program. And he's, as a local history explorer, he's led more than 100 historical walks through Greater Sudbury, and he's only been lost 20% of the time. He is, I can't resist these stories sometimes, but as you know, Blueberry Hill exists in the Minnow Lake area, and there's been a number of hikes up Blueberry Hill. Paul's been there as well too. Well, a number of years ago, we took a hike, and we had one of our counselors with us, and all of us came down from the hike, and then we heard, "Help, help," and it was the counselor who was lost up on the hill, and we said, "No problem, just walk down," and he did eventually come out, but a lot of us felt that he's still in the woods. But he's not a present counselor, that was no problem. But Paul's an executive member of the Kingsmount Bell Park Community Action Network, a regular presenter to the Sudbury District branch of the Ontario Genealogical Society. He's a transcriber to the City of Greater Sudbury Archives. He was an appointee to the former Greater Sudbury Heritage Advisory Panel. As a board member, he's contributed to Meals on Wheels, Sudbury, and the Downtown Village Development Corporation. Wow. And he's been a former broadcaster too. You may have heard him years ago on CKSO. And also he's been a marketing guru as well too. So he's had a very, very wide history, and he's still going strong. Speaking of going strong, as Monique was talking about, keeping us as young as possible, there's a series on Netflix talking about the blue zones. I don't know if you've seen that. That's the areas in the world where people live long. So I watched it because I wanted to live a little longer. And I sort of distilled it all. And basically the 2 points that came really to the forefront with respect to living longer, and that's two. And that's eat well and keep active. So that's all we have to do, is keep, and you're going to eat well here a little later on, Paul, after you're through. And we invite everybody, look, that's a really good setup over there at the counter. I'm almost sorry I had lunch, but I think we're going to have a second lunch. But anyway, enough talk. Let's invite for talking today. We weren't sure what the title was going to be of Paul's discussion today, because you can ask them questions too. But we tried to figure out what it was going to be. I can't remember I know we put down something like old and new combined for the future. We talked about some other titles, but anyway, we can come up here and describe what is the title and what you're going to talk about, and we're very glad to have you here. Paul Haynes is going to talk to us all now. Stand by.
Can everybody hear? Okay. That's usually one of the first questions we ask when we do these hikes. And typically we would invite everybody to move in close because we don't have the advent of a microphone sometimes. Usually what we do on these Rainbow Routes Explore Sudbury hikes from historical perspective is I bring along flashcards which I hold up and I'll walk around and I'll show people. I won't do that today, but I try not to, I refer to these pictures. This is an old 1887 map of the Canadian Pacific Railway survey of downtown Sudbury. They surveyed Block A, Block B, and Block C. And in this particular map, it shows the blue being the creeks. And the red buildings were the buildings that were here before they surveyed. So it's an interesting map to look at, and I'll put it on a table somewhere and you can look at this after. One of the things that I've done recently to, when I address hikes, to give everybody a perspective of where they are, is I'll show a map of the city of Greater Sudbury, which you may see in white. I know it's going to be difficult back there, but you'll look at this map later perhaps. And the pink area in the middle here, the 6 by 6 miles square in the middle, is McKim Township. And that's where we are today. We're in McKim Township. And McKim Township is where the Sudbury Village and the town of Sudbury grew from this particular square here. This was officially the town of Sudbury. Just so as members of CARP, it might be interesting to note that this little pink box here, which is McKim Township, is one of 39 townships that make up the city of Greater Sudbury. There are 39 of these 6 by 6 mile squares. This is how it was surveyed back in the 1860s and 70s, and each particular square or township is 6 concessions and 12 lots. And where you live today, if you live anywhere in the city of Greater Sudbury, it's all relative to your boundary, your lot lines are all relative to this original survey. But what I find what is interesting that I like to leave people with when I look at this here particular map is that approximately 1/3 plus to a half of a population of the city of Greater Sudbury, I believe, still exist in this little box here. And these other, and there are 39 of them that make up our city. So if you wonder where your tax dollars are how we have to spread them out, you get a picture of that from the old township map. This map is from, I believe, Oivo Saarinen's Meteorite to Constellation City book that he wrote. Anyway, that aside, John is right. When we first decided what we were going to talk about today, we were talking about blending the old and the new. And I know as a local history explorer, I like old structures because they help inform us about the culture, the history, and the values of the past. And on a hike, for example, I'd be become very interested in stopping in front of the hospital here and looking at the west wing that still exists. There is a lot of blending the old in the new, or quite a bit of it in downtown Sudbury. There could be a lot more. But I'll give you an idea of what you can experience downtown in just a bit of a walkabout. And the CPR freight shed and the CPR telegraph office being incorporated into the McEwen School of Architecture is a good thing. I think the sum of the parts, I think the result is stronger than just the sum of the parts. And what a great statement from a School of Architecture to take those old buildings. It looks like the way we're going to be able to maintain or sustain any kind of heritage assets downtown may be through, largely through our tax dollars that are channeled through to institutions like Laurentian University and the School of Architecture, for example, to take those buildings, because it's not likely the public sector is going to be able to afford to do that as much. Other examples that we see downtown, the St. Anne of the Pines Rectory over here, which is our oldest building in Sudbury, built in 1883 and certainly bricked over within the decade, still stands. And the fact that it was bricked over probably saved it from the 1893 or 1894 fire that demolished the first church. The 1895 bell from St. Anne of the Pines is still, it exists on the site of St. Anne's Church at the rear. It's tough to have access to these things now because of COVID and some of the security issues. They have had to fence off churches and some buildings. But that old 1895 bell is interesting because if you get up there, you see all the names of the people who sponsored that bell back in the 1890s. Names like Mulligan and Fournier and others. That's blending the old with the new when you look at the new St. Anne of the Pines Church, for example. On the way over here, I heard the bell of Christ the King, and Tom Truskowski was out at the side door. He works at that church, and it sounded a little rough. The bell sounds like it might have a bit of a crack in it, and it's making a little bit of noise that is affecting the building is shaking a little bit. So there have to get people from Minnesota to come up, Minneapolis or someplace like that, to come up and take a look at that bell. But that bell, again, is the original. We think it's the original bell from that church. A little more on that in a bit if we have time. The Peace Chapel at St. Andrew's Place, if you've not been in there, it's constructed of bricks from the original St. Andrew's Presbyterian Church that was built on Larch Street. It's a beautiful place, and the bricks are absolutely wonderful in that church. By the way, that is the last multi-functional building, or multi-purpose building that was built downtown, and that was built in the 1970s with a ground floor commercial, upstairs residential, and a church inside. And that was the first step towards perhaps trying to repopulate downtown. But not since has there been a building that has really had those elements of commercial, residential, and like a multi-purpose building. I know with the Downtown Village Development Corporation, we tried to move those kinds of projects forward, and we weren't successful. But it's not from the lack of trying. Place des Arts, the new building, if you've not had a chance to go into it, the blending the old with the new there is repurposing a lot of things, such as incorporating bricks from St. Anne of the Pine Church, the old church, that they found when they dug they actually dug them up. And the old King Edward Hotel that stood on the site previously, before it became a parking lot, and then St. Place des Arts. Some of the bricks from it they found when they were digging, and they've incorporated them into the lobby of that as well. They have, interesting, they have baking pans from a bakery in the flour mill on the wall display. And they have actually benches made in the lobby area that were actually originally floated from the Sudbury district down to the Great Lakes, and eventually to help rebuild Chicago after the Great Fire in the 1870s. And the benches have been, the timber has been returned to Sudbury from Chicago, and recognizing that the Place des Arts was being built, they thought it would be a place where they could perhaps use these old timbers. And the benches there are quite interesting. So behind you here in the far corner, you'll see the dark red bricks. And that's what's left of the west wing. It's visible across the courtyard, and providing a backdrop to the short history of St. Joseph's Hospital. Hospitals, the old hospital area which we are in, from about 1886 to the 1950s. Now, I thought that this would be, if we were doing a hike downtown, we would stop in front of those, and we could talk about that old building for a minute. You can't see the stones, the coarse cut stones and random rubble that they made the foundation out of. Possibly some random rubble. But if we were outside, you could actually see the black rocks, the foundation that was built. This was now, that west wing was built in 1921. So it's not, the middle section, which would be in the courtyard there, was built in 1898. And the east wing, which over here was built about 1907. So that would be the newest part of St. Joseph's Hospital, the 1921 section there. But it's interesting when you look at those rocks, they do tell a little bit of a story. Back to a time, even in 1920s, where those rocks probably came from a quarry close by, and they were probably delivered by teams of horses and wagons to the site. They were expert masons would have chipped those stones as square as they possibly could, and placed them on the wall, on the foundation, and mortared. Are we okay? You're turning it up? Okay. I can yell a little louder if you'd like. I'm kind of used to that. So that would give us room for some kind of conversation about those stones, and it sort of takes us back to a different time. There was a quarry, by the way, that was on the site of Sacré-Cœur, or Sacred Heart College behind us here, closer to Kathleen Street, probably in the area where the pool was. Does anybody remember that?
Yeah.
The pool? Anyway, I have documents that suggest that someone had a quarry there and employed 12 people, and some of those stones went to build the foundation, or to help build the old post office building on the corner. So there's no reason to think that those stones couldn't have been transported here to this site as well. Questions arise, was the stone blackened before it was sent? If it was surface rock, it could have been, which speaks back to our history as a mining community and the sulfur smoke that would have blackened some of those rocks. because typically we don't have black rocks that we use here. They're of a different color. They were blackened. Most of them were blackened by pollution. The mortar is white, so you might suggest that it might look like the mortar had been remortared, or else the mortar would have been perhaps black as well. Anyway, this was originally the Sudbury hospital area. The first hospital was built by the construction crews in about 1883, and it was a log hospital, and it was on the site of the cenotaph, where the corner of Elm and Lorne. And that was Dr. Howie and Dr. Girdwood's hospital. The second hospital was something that was built used by Dr. Hart and later Dr. Goodfellow, and it was called the Huntsville Hospital. Dr. Hart was from Huntsville, and he decided that he would open up another hospital here. And so that was in 1892. In 1894, Doctors Arthur and Struthers opened up, by the way, that hospital would have been behind Nuswakamak, over here on what we call Pine Street now. Doctors Arthur and Struthers opened up a hospital in 1894 rather, called the Algoma Nipissing Hospital. And it would have been in that block, that empty block now, close to near Bay's Books over here. So that would be hospital number 3. Along came Father Lucier and the Grey Nuns from Ottawa, and they associated with Dr. Goodfellow in opening up a St. Joseph's Hospital at the Hart Hospital in 1896. That relationship came to an unhappy ending. Dr. Goodfellow leased the hospital to the diocese, or to Father Lucier in particular, and he couldn't. The knock on the door was a foreclosure, and he couldn't pay his bills. So basically, the hospital itself was they lost all the beds and everything else they had were removed, and they decided that they were going to open up a new one. So this was the middle area here was where they would have constructed St. Joseph's Hospital in 1898. So that would have been the 4th hospital here in a little more than 15 years. These would be great for doing hikes. You wouldn't need paper at all, except that they're just not functional outside yet. You know, you with the sun and the screens, and it's hard to show. Maybe someday. It's interesting also to note that at the time this was built, this West Wing was built in 1921, the town of Sudbury were debating a new hospital, plans for a new hospital in the Kingsmount area. And as plans for that were rejected by town council in the 1920s. And as a result, they built this wing here. So if they had agreed to those plans, this west wing here might not even be here. And just a note, the whole concept of St. Joseph was certainly was not just something that they called the hospital. Back behind us here, it was called Mount Joseph. And this was all Jesuit property behind us here, right over to Sacred Heart School. The other St. Joseph was Christ the King Church, which was when the congregation, the Catholic congregation separated in French-speaking and English-speaking. The first church was a basement church, and the English-speaking church was called St. Joseph's. It was changed to Christ the King later, I believe, maybe into the 1930s, I suppose. Anyway, the hospital area became, as we know it now, it's hard to even kind of make that claim today because we have just one hospital and then Memorial. But the hospital area became, from the 1850s almost to present, became the hospital areas around the Kingsmount area now. Finally made it there. Sudbury General, the Sudbury Memorial, and the Sudbury Algoma Sanatorium were all built in the 50s. 3 hospitals within a decade. And that was because there was government funding that was available after the war to move public health care in top priority. So that certainly wouldn't happen today, I'm sure. One question that I have that I would leave is that with our new St. Joseph's Hospital, and there is a bit of a confusion there, isn't there? We have the old Sudbury General became St. Joseph's Hospital after in the transfer to the Laurentian Hospital and what do they call it? Health Sciences North now. The St. Joseph's the nuns of St. Joseph of Montreal were involved in helping to start Sudbury General. And when the hospital was sold, it went back to the nuns of St. Joseph, and therefore it was called St. Joseph's Hospital. It has nothing to do with this St. Joseph's Hospital. These were the Grey Nuns who called it St. Joseph. That was run by, with the assistance of these nuns of St. Joseph from Montreal, and it was called the Sudbury General before it transferred back. If that's not clear, that's okay. I belong to a website, we have a Facebook site in our neighborhood called St. Joe's Neighborhood Connection. And I'm sure that nobody was aware that there was actually a St. Joseph's Hospital once upon a time. And nobody has the heart to tell anybody, so. The first doctor for St. Joseph's Hospital was Dr. Mulligan, Dr. W.H. Mulligan. And he was very much involved in, as a pioneer in this community. He was one of the first doctors, certainly after Dr. Howie. He was involved with Bakey, a guy by the name of Bakey and Gill, in erecting or constructing the very first brick block building, which was 73 Elm Street, which is just across the street over here. And it was, if you remember Muirhead's, that was the Muirhead's building. It still stands. His name is on the 1895 bell that's over here. He, as well, built one of the 2 twin turret residences across, first homes across across Junction Creek on Cedar Street. Do you know the twin turret buildings? The buildings that are, one of them became his building, his home became the Red Cross building on Drinkwater. And other beautiful homes with, each home has a turret. They're actually, so that's what they call them, the twin turret buildings. One of them still exists. That was the Alex Fournier home. And I bring that to your attention because it helps just move into my next train of thoughts here. Dr. Mulligan, as well as having the bell on the 1895, his name as a sponsor, etched into the 1895 bell, he, and being the first doctor here, he also was the first to ring the bell at Christ the King. And the bell at Christ the King was sponsored by his brother, David B. Mulligan. And that name should be on that bell that's I talked about, that was kind of cracked a little bit. And I've asked Tom to make sure he checks that out, you know, when we move forward. But I have it in historical notes. David B. Mulligan, he was a younger brother of W.H. Mulligan. And he was the manager of the hotel, is it the Astoria in New York. He ran the Canadian Pacific chain of hotels across Canada. He was a very wealthy man, so obviously he was tapped for the bell here. But he's also recognized in Golf Digest for being the mulligan, that if you golf and you've ever taken a mulligan, it is David B. Mulligan, the man who sponsored the bell here. And I know my messenger bag here that somebody gave me once, they saw me struggling with my walks, and I needed things to put things in. Orist, I don't know if you remember Orist, ladies, there's some ladies here from my walks, it's great. Anyway, this was a Palladino auto group, Mulligan's for Neo Kids Golf Classic Tournament. So I have Mulligan right on my bag here, but so there are a lot of things that relate to people and places and events that make being a local history explorer and leading hikes interesting. And I would welcome you to, if you can join our hikes by registering with Rainbow Routes, or looking at, going to the website, rainbowroutes.ca or .com, it'll pop up, or Facebook, and you'll subscribe to, or like Rainbow Routes, and you'll become you'll receive a stream of information regarding what hikes are coming up next. So, John, I think that we can leave it here, and perhaps if there are any questions at all about hikes, heritage, our stock of heritage assets that are left, and anything else, I invite you to ask if you'd like. This makes it easy.
Okay, let's talk about our old days, huh?
Well, you know, one of the things that I will just say in closing is that the new hospital over here, that is going to be condominiums or apartments. The St. Joseph's Hospital, the new program over there. They do have the plans and the diagrams for that site. But I would ask, I don't know if anybody's thought about it yet, but one of the things that might come up would be, what are they going to leave us behind as a breadcrumb that will recognize that hospital and be a tribute to all of the, or a recognition of all the people who were born there over the years? Can they repurpose or reuse a part of that hospital or something, or will they have a room that they could dedicate to a historical, a little historical museum? These are things that need to be addressed with the developers at this particular point. And I haven't done that yet, so you can beat me if you want.
Well, thank you very much, sir. I just wonder, after we're gone, what parts of us are they going to use? We would, of course, endorse everyone to leave on your drivers. You have the opportunity to leave your body parts, or the whole body, if you like, for whatever purpose. Although I keep wondering, what are they going to do with my 86-year-old parts? You know, what is left that's any good? Well, but here we are. And thank you for Sudbury's history. You know, I've lived across the country from British Columbia to St. John's, Newfoundland, and points in between, and sometime in the States. And I ended up here in Sudbury, and I thought that Sudbury had, as I believe one of our former early pioneers said, that here's a town with a lot of promise. And I still think it has a lot of promise. We have certain concerns, of course, and challenges, but I think that's where perhaps our city falls down, is not utilizing some of the knowledge and the experience and the abilities that those of us of advanced age have, because we've been around for, you know, decades. And when you look at some of those people who are making decisions for us, sometimes they're less than half of our age. So think of all the things we learned in our last half of our life, you know, and we were willing to share that with those who are willing to listen. Unfortunately, we have something that's called ageism, and it does exist, you know, and once you reach a certain point, there are those who are somewhat younger than ourselves say, that's just an old fogey, what do they know? And they don't realize that, you know, a lot of us have been around, you know, from the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, you know, and we've lived and we've learned and we're willing to share. So CARP as an advocacy group, that's one of the things that we actually do. We do comment, both on a national level where they're looking after certain things like health care and residency requirements, safety issues, and those are being dealt with at the national level and the provincial level, but also we can do that same thing here at the local level, you know, to make our voices heard for the good of all, not just us, you know, we're, as we used to say, we're friendly to seniors, we're friendly to everybody. So, you know, if you're friendly to a senior, you're basically friendly to anyone of any age. And Paul, thank you very much for that little trip around town with our history, and some of us, of course, have felt bad about some of our older buildings that are no longer here, which were, you know, quite substantial structures. And those of us who have been overseas, you know, look at some of the buildings there, have been there for 1,000 years, and they're still there. And sometimes here, if it's older than 50 years, it's, let's tear it down, you know, and build new. But as Paul said, you can incorporate the old with the new. And some of our fabulous people who have helped build Sudbury over the years. And you know, Sudbury's, I've lived in Timmins, I've lived in North Bay and traveled throughout the north. And you know, we have stuff to learn from these other communities as well too, not just the ones that are further south. But we're northerners now, and I think we're proud of it. But anyway, we're also hungry northerners, and we have goodies for you here. We'd like to thank you all for coming out. And I was asked, how many people come out to our general meetings? Well, it varies, you know, from 30 to over 100. I think we had well over 100 for our topic on cannabis, and that was a very happy meeting. I don't know where we supplied the goodies then, but we don't have any of that now. But we do have some vegan things over here. But for people who want to really indulge, we invite you to head to the bar. Oh no, sorry, the bar is closed. Head over here to the cafeteria and enjoy. And then I believe that Monique is going to get her gang ready. And after we've had a little, Monique, how do you want to work that, by the way? Monique, are you still here? There she is. Monique is actually just telling me that her history, her genealogical history, goes back to Belgium, right? Belgium. And Belgium, as you know, is a country that is a multilingual country.
It is.
And do you want to tell us your actual historical name? Here she goes.
Oh, geez, John.
Close to the mic here.
You just threw this on me. So my maiden name is Wildaer. So it's spelled Vildaer. So I'm going from my married name back to my maiden name because I miss it. So my dad came to Canada. He was 16 years old from Belgium. Yeah.
And so many, of course, of our Sudbury residents have come from afar. Paul, quite a few from Quebec in the early days with the mining.
Area.
Yep, and of course the reason we have such a vibrant Francophone population now. But anyway, are you hungry? So how's this going to work, Monique? Now, when it comes now, we're going to have something to enjoy, a little goodies. I had an excellent butter tart. I wanted to grab one first.
Blueberry
before.
tart.
Yeah, blueberry tart, of course. So how are we going to work this for those who want a little tour?
I encourage you all to get a big plate because there's lots of food out there. And once everybody's ready, whoever wants to do a tour, we have four or five staff members that can take groups on tours. So whenever everybody is ready and full, then we can walk off the food and tour the facility. Okay?
John? I'm gonna leave the binder here, okay?
Oh.
Anybody wants to look at it?
Paul's going to leave the binder that he mentioned that he showed, so anybody wants to take a look at that as well too. And also ask Paul those questions you didn't want to ask in open session. Thanks very much for coming out, folks. See you next time. Don't forget, Saturday at College Boreal, and then October the 12th at the Crusoe Club. Hey, I remember that. I'm getting better. Thanks again. Bye for now.